Marnie Brooks had been the star on the rise. With her haunting beauty and talent, she seemed destined for greatness in Hollywood. But beneath her porcelain facade was a woman at war with herself. Marnie, the girl who could make everyone fall in love with her on screen, was also the girl who could never find peace off screen. When she was found dead in her luxurious Beverly Hills apartment, the world quickly deemed it a suicide. The tabloids buzzed with stories of her struggles, her downward spiral, and her inner demons. The official narrative was easy, but something didn't sit right with Marnie's ex-husband, Dean Wallace. He couldn't believe she had taken her own life. Marnie had always fought too hard for her dreams to simply give up on them. Despite their estrangement, Dean knew Marnie better than anyone. He could hear her voice, filled with passion and purpose, even as the rest of the world only saw her success. Too many inconsistencies haunted the police report. Dean felt it in his bones. The story didn't add up. With a sense of dread settling in his stomach, Dean stepped into the building where Marnie had spent her final days. The building, once filled with the warmth of Marnie's laugh and the hum of phone calls from her agent, now felt lifeless. As he walked toward the apartment, every footstep echoed in his mind. Dean was greeted by the building's security guard, an older man with tired eyes and a somber expression. He had seen Marnie's rise and fall, and there was something in his gaze that spoke volumes. "What do you know about her last days?" Dean asked, keeping his voice steady. The guard looked hesitant, casting a glance around before answering. "She wasn't herself, Mr. Wallace. Stayed inside all the time, barely spoke to anyone. She looked lost, like she was carrying a weight, but she wouldn't say a word." Dean pressed further. "Did she mention anyone? Someone close to her?" The guard nodded. There was a man. Tall, sharp suit, always walking in with a briefcase. He seemed to have control over her. "I didn't catch his name, but I saw them together a lot. Always in secret." Dean's heart raced. It was the first lead he'd gotten that felt real. He thanked the guard and stepped into the apartment, greeted by silence. The curtains were drawn, the air thick and stale, like the life had been sucked out of the place. The memories of Marnie felt close, yet impossibly distant. He moved through the apartment, piecing together the fragments of her life. As he rummaged through her things, he discovered a final journal entry. Her handwriting was shaky, desperate. She had written about Victor Novak, a powerful Hollywood producer who had control over her career, her choices, her very life. "He'll make me disappear if I don't do what he wants. He doesn't love me. He only loves what he can take from me." Victor Novak was a name that Dean had heard whispered in dark corners of Hollywood. He was powerful, a man who controlled careers and lives with the snap of his fingers. But Dean wasn't prepared for what came next. Marnie had been involved in a secret affair with one of her co-stars, a relationship that could have ruined her career, her reputation, everything. But that wasn't the whole story. The affair had been twisted, manipulated by Novak into a weapon he could use against her. Victor didn't just control her professionally, he had her under his thumb, personally. He used her, manipulated her, and when she became a threat, when she started to show the world who he really was, he eliminated her. Dean pushed forward, uncovering more about Novak's dealings. He found connections to other deaths, all too similar to Marnie's. Young women, ambitious, driven by the same dreams Marnie had once had, destroyed by the very man who had promised them everything. Dean couldn't stop now. The more he uncovered, the darker the truth became. Novak was untouchable, it seemed. His power stretched far beyond what Dean could have imagined. But Dean wasn't backing down. The truth needed to be exposed. Late one evening, Dean found himself standing outside a mansion on the outskirts of the city. Novak's mansion. Dean crept inside, navigating through its lavish halls until he stumbled upon a hidden room. It was lined with photos of young women, each one filled with fear in their eyes. Each one, like Marnie, had been controlled, used, and discarded. The walls of the room seemed to close in on him, but he pushed forward. In the center of the room, Dean found what he was looking for, a hidden video. On the screen, Marnie sat, eyes hollow and exhausted, facing Victor. "You belong to me, Marnie," Novak said, his voice smooth, a predator speaking to his prey. "I made you. And I will break you if I must. Marnie's voice was soft, barely a whisper. I know. The video ended abruptly. Dean's breath caught in his chest as the weight of the truth settled over him. This wasn't just about a troubled actress. This was about a man who had destroyed lives, used people, and left them broken in his wake. Dean knew what he had to do. He had to confront Novak. He had to make sure the world knew the kind of man Victor Novak truly was. He tracked Novak down to a high-end hotel where the producer was hiding under an alias. When they finally came face to face, the tension was palpable. You took everything from her, Dean spat, his voice rising with the anger he had kept hidden for too long. You used her, and you killed her when she became a threat. Victor smiled, unshaken. She was a product, Dean. A product that I made. If she broke, that's on her. She knew the price she paid for fame. Dean's fists clenched at his sides. She was human, and you took that from her. At that moment, Dean realized that Marnie's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was part of a much larger scheme. A scheme designed to silence those who dared to stand up to the industry, to the people who controlled everything. Dean's investigation changed him. The man who had once loved Marnie Brooks, who had once believed in the purity of their love, was no longer that man. He had become someone darker, someone who knew the ugly truth about the world they had both tried to conquer. Victor Novak was arrested on charges of murder, coercion, and manipulation. But even as the world started to acknowledge the truth, Dean couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness ran much deeper than anyone realized. Hollywood wasn't just a place of dreams. It was a place where lies were buried so deep that they could destroy lives without anyone even noticing. But Marnie's story would not be forgotten. The truth was no longer buried. The world would know what had been done to her, and perhaps, just perhaps, there would be justice for all the others like her. The cost of that truth, however, would haunt Dean forever. For more videos like this, follow, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned.